In 1970, Huzur again visited Europe to oversee and accelerate the diverse activities of the Jamaat. During this tour, he visited the United Kingdom, Holland, Switzerland, West Germany and Spain. The highlight of the tour was the opening ceremony of the Mahmud Mosque in Zurich on the 5th of April 1970. During this tour, a large hall adjacent to the Fazl Mosque in London was also inaugurated by Huzur on the 23rd of May 1970. It was built in memory of Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih II and was named after him as the Mahmud Hall. The foundation stone of this hall was laid by Huzur on the 30th of July 1967. The hall played a vital role in the progress of the community when it became the hub of the operations for the community's global television channel, MTA International. Huzur toured Spain for the first time from the 25th of May to the 1st of June 1970. During this tour, Allah revealed to him that in future times to come, the Jamaat will have tremendous success and expansion in Spain, which was unthinkable at the time. On the 31st of March 1972, Huzur inaugurated the magnificent Al-Aqsa Mosque in Rabwa, accommodating over 150,000 worshippers. The Ahmadiyya movement was formally initiated in March 1889 and completed its first century in March 1989. Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih III made an announcement concerning the celebration of the centenary of the movement in the annual conference of 1973, in which he enumerated a number of projects which he had in mind in connection with the centenary. Huzur called upon the community to pledge the amount of 25 million rupees to finance the projects and the celebration of the centenary. The pledges, however, received in this respect were 4 times the requested amount.
But one thing more very importantly, which Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis Rahimahullah Ta'ala started regarding the celebration of the first centenary, that was the spiritual program for that. So Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he invited the attention of the members of the Jamaat that Jamaat Ahmadiyya firmly believes in the divine support with the help of Allah Almighty, and everything can be accomplished and can only be accomplished if the divine help is there. For that purpose, everybody was reminded that they should particularly follow those guidelines which Huzur gave in detail, and he pointed out certain prayers, that these are the prayers of the Holy Quran and given by the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which the members have to repeat in so many times.
In 1973, Huzur embarked upon his 3rd European tour. He visited the UK, Holland, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Sweden and Denmark. The bigoted section of Orthodox Muslim divines in Pakistan were much perturbed by the announcements of Huzur concerning the centenary celebrations. Time after time, the plans that they had devised for the purpose of stopping the progress of the movement had been frustrated. By the grace and mercy of God, and from each trial, the movement had emerged in greater strength and spirit. Rather than learning a lesson from their repeated experiences, their bitterness and hostility towards the movement had continued to mount, and the announcement of the centenary celebrations put them in a mood of desperation.
Well, I think it was in April 1974 when an incident was, a very unpleasant incident, was orchestrated by the mullahs on the Rabwa station. And as a result of that, as they had planned, a wave of protests, marches and riots were created by them throughout the Pakistan against the Ahmadi Muslims. In those riots, hundreds of people were actually martyred, they were killed, including women and children. Their properties were looted, their houses, their shops, their businesses were burned, and it was absolutely callous. And the important thing is that throughout these atrocities against humanity, for no reason other than the faith, that the police and the federal security services, they all were present there in hundreds, but they always stood purely as they looked upon, and they enjoyed the scenes. They did not intervene. They did not even take any steps to stop these atrocities.
The community again set an example of perfect steadfastness under extreme suffering and complete confidence in God. The bereaved and the afflicted managed to make their way to the headquarters of the movement, where Huzur applied the healing balm of compassion and love to their lacerated souls and sent them back comforted and consoled. They came with grief-stricken, gloomy faces and went back smiling and cheerful.
Well, actually, it's quite ironic, because lots of Ahmadis and a great deal of number of Ahmadis in Pakistan had very flourishing businesses, large businesses, very profitable businesses, very renowned businesses. And those were burnt and looted and gutted. I have seen those people who started off right from the scratch, from a little box of a shop to start off again. And by the grace of Allah, that the world saw them, that they flourished. They even did, in instances, they even did better than before. They were back on their feet in no time. And it was quite amazing to see that the same people redeveloped their businesses, again back to the same glory, if not better.
Under the leadership of their beloved Khalifatul Masih, the community at large emerged from the trial stronger, more united and in greater vigor than had been the case before the troubles started. This was something that puzzled the opponents of the movement, and which they were not able to comprehend. They felt that a greater effort on their part was called for in order to coerce the members of the movement into submission.
There were slogans against the community, processions against the community, meetings were being conducted in various places, and throughout the country, a wave of opposition against the community started. And things went like this, and as a result of that, many Ahmadis, scores of Ahmadis, actually they had to lay down their lives. They became the martyrs of Ahmadiyyat for the sake of Ahmadiyyat, for the truth. And their houses were put on fire, their properties were damaged, and they were beaten up, they were insulted, they were boycotted, their food provisions were stopped from them, and all types of tortures was inflicted upon them. So those days were actually very, very tough for the community. And on one side, this was happening. On the other side, the movement started by the mullahs of the time that the Ahmadiyya Jamaat should be declared a non-Muslim community.
1974, there was again a lot of instigation against the Jamaat, and a lot of anti-Ahmadiyya sentiment was fomented by the mullahs at that time. And the main premise was that members of the community, and at least as far as the law, as far as the constitution was concerned, that members of the Jamaat are to be declared non-Muslims. And so the government at that time, which was that of the Prime Minister at that time, was Hadhrat Khalifatul, and his government at that time then proceeded to put this towards the National Assembly.
In September 1974, Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis Rahimahullah was summoned to the National Assembly of Pakistan, in which this was again an orchestrated drama by the National Assembly, that they questioned Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih in minutest details, at length, about the doctrines, about the faith, about the basis of the faith of Ahmadiyyat in Islam, to which Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih Salis Rahimahullah and his team were able to provide answers in so unambiguous and detailed and satisfactory manner that it actually ridiculed, it was as a result, the whole assembly was ridiculed, and it made them look ridiculous in their own eyes. Nevertheless, as it had already been planned, the motion was carried by the National Assembly, it was sent to the Senate, and within the matter of hours of having been sent, it was passed by the Senate, just as it had been